and constructed above you 7 strong heavens. Okay. Okay. The earth we make as a bed and the sky as a building. Okay. And we have created above you 7 layered heavens, and never will be of our creation unaware. We know our creation. We build 7 heavens above you. Okay, this verse, I think it's important. All the verses are important, but this is, okay. Here is speaking the sky which returns. All these sevens, he is telling God in his book that it returns. We will see it returns what? Why it's telling the sky that returns? What it returns? Here it's telling something else. And he completed them as 7 layers and inspired in each heaven its command. Each heaven, it has its command. Returning command, what command? He made 7 layers, but for each heaven, it has its command. It must do this. We will check this. For example, the ionosphere command, what is it?
High-frequency radio waves have enough energy to get a strong...
Okay. This is the layer of the ionosphere. We see what is its command. What is its command God had commanded?
Reflection off the ionosphere. The high-frequency band.
The ionosphere reflects radio waves. The ionosphere reflects radio waves. This is its command. Look, he made 7 layers, but each layer has its command. This layer reflects radio waves. That Raja, it's returning. The sky that returns, it's returning the radio waves.
And is optimal for non-line of sight communications involving multiple bounces off the ionosphere. If ionosphere conditions are good, it is possible to get bounces around the...
You see the ionosphere, it's reflect the radio waves.
Earth, HF, is the choice for non-line of sight communications.
Another video of the ionosphere. I like this
high frequency and
I like this
very high frequency and higher frequency radio waves have energy levels.
Look, it reflects radio waves, but all the waves, look, the VHF, the UHF can penetrate the ionosphere, but the HF, it won't penetrate, it will bounce. Why in the Marines they use HF radio? Because if it's one end of the earth, it bounces the ionosphere and he speaks somebody in the second side of the earth. Because the HF frequency, it bounces. The HF frequency bounces at the ionosphere. But the UHF, it's penetrated. It penetrates the ionosphere. When they want to speak, for example, outside in the space, somebody outside the rover Mars, they send UHF so that it penetrates the ionosphere. But if somebody is here in the sea, he won't speak here, and there is no satellite in the ship, he speaks HF so that it bounces the ionosphere and he can speak. I will give you a small idea. This is short wave, long wave, high frequency, very high frequency, ultra high frequency. Very high frequency يعني VHF and UHF. Short wave radio, they need an antenna 200 meter so that the waves is big. They need a big antenna, 200 meter. You know in the Amshid the antennas, it's short wave. And the short wave, it doesn't need the ionosphere. It travels on the earth. The HF high frequency between 3 and 30 megahertz is used in the marine. because it bounces the ionosphere layer of the atmosphere. The VHF and UHF, why we use here? Because it penetrates everything. It penetrates iron and concrete, and it penetrates even the ionosphere. You know, they cannot use it in the marine because they cannot speak somebody in the other side of the world. They need satellite and something like this. Just to give you an idea. We will watch now a video about the ionosphere.
The details of which are given in table. The degree of ionization varies with the height. The density of atmosphere decreases with height. At great heights, the solar radiation is intense, but there are few molecules to be ionized. Close to the Earth, even though the molecular concentration is very high, the radiation intensity is low, so that the ionization is again low. However, at some intermediate heights, there occurs a peak of ionization density. The ionospheric layer acts as a reflector for a certain range of frequencies.
Okay, I will explain so that you understand. The ionosphere layer acts as a reflector for a certain range of frequencies, 3 and 30 megahertz. It bounces. But if it's the frequency above 30 megahertz, it penetrates the ionosphere. If there is a ship here and a ship here, there is no satellite, they speak in this frequency so that they understand each other. Before, a long time ago, when there was no cellular and mobile phones, there was people, they used to speak in the what they call it, this walkie-talkie, I don't know. But if somebody was professional enough, he can bounce the frequency of the ionosphere and speak around the world anywhere he wants. It doesn't need a radio station. I'm building one 3 and 30 kilometer megahertz frequency, so that I speak somebody I want around the world. I will show you a guy that he's making one. The antenna needed for 3 and 30 megahertz radio wave to speak, 20-meter antenna he needs, and he can bounce the ionosphere waves, and he can speak around the world without the satellite.
On the other side, he should also have the same antenna. Sure.
Yes. Look, this guy is he's putting antenna 20 meters because the wave is 20 meters for 3 and 30 megahertz. He made an antenna, okay? He can bounce the ionosphere and speak somebody maybe in New Guinea. He can speak with him.
How much time it takes for the sound?
Directly he speaks. Light speak, you know? Speak with, but now we have satellites, UHF to the satellite send UHF. But if you have HF, marine radio frequency, and antenna 20 meter, you can speak around the world. Little people know about this. This is an amateur. He's making his own radio frequency. Bounce the ionosphere and speak around the world. No satellite, no nothing.
Any person can do it.
Yes. Okay, we won't go too much deep inside. We saw the layer and its command. It's reflecting the radio waves. We will see another video, just to take idea.
Earth, we look here to see just how thin the atmosphere is. This is to scale.
This is all the layers of the atmosphere. Look how it's thin it
The space
is.
station orbits about 250 miles above the Earth.
You heard? The space station orbits 250 miles. And here it's orbiting. Not here, here. And the atmosphere is this light blue light. This is the atmosphere. They didn't go to space yet.
And that red line is the orbit, and you can see it's really quite close to the Earth. Now, at 200 miles, we are actually in the F layer of the ionosphere.
The orbit in the ionosphere, they are orbiting in the ionosphere. In the layer of the ionosphere they are.
Station can orbit there is because there's...
The station can orbit there because there is no oxygen. It's like space, it can orbit. There is no, but it's a layer of the atmosphere. They didn't go to space.
No drag from the atmosphere, meaning there's very little atmosphere, and yet that is where the ionospheric phenomena take place. The Earth's atmosphere...
Look, the thickness of the atmosphere is 30 miles.
Actually is only about 30 miles thick, and you get up to the point where you get past 30 miles and you're considered to be in outer space.
If you pass 30 miles, you are considered in outer space. But the atmosphere layer is 1,000 miles.
Now, satellites don't orbit that low because there's too much atmospheric drag. You need to get up to about 120 miles or so.
Okay, 120 miles. The space shuttle is 200 kilometers. They are in the mesosphere. They are in the layers.
To have a satellite that will orbit successfully. But the point is that the Earth's atmosphere is very thin. So
this is the atmosphere. This is it. And the satellite orbits here.
What we see is that the sensible part of the atmosphere is 30 miles thick. The distance between the top of the atmosphere, the sensible atmosphere,
this is the ionosphere.
And about where the space station orbits is where the ionosphere is.
Okay, the space station orbits where the ionosphere is here. Here, not in the red one, here. Here it orbits the space station and the satellites. Okay? They are in the layers.
Scribbled in green right there. And that's what we're looking at. That's the section that makes HF propagation.
Okay. You took idea now where the space shuttle is orbiting in the ionosphere, about 200 miles. Okay, we will see one of the layers. We saw the ionosphere. It's bouncing radio waves. It's turning. We saw its command. We will see now another layer of the atmosphere and its command, what it is. Look what it's writing here. It is as though he has fallen from the sky and was snatched by the birds of the wind. God is telling somebody is fallen from the sky and is snatched by the birds or by the wind. If somebody falling from the sky, snatched by the birds or snatched by the wind, we will check this out.